Welcome back to another explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today we're exploring one of the absolute most provocative, mind-bending ideas from Robert Kiyosaki's financial philosophy. We're specifically digging into Chapter 5, which is titled Lesson 5, The Rich Invent Money. And we're unpacking this really powerful idea that true wealth isn't just about earning a paycheck, it's about creatively generating money out of thin air. We're talking about a total mindset shift here, moving from being a passive earner to becoming an active creator of wealth.
So, let me ask you a question. Does being smart actually make you rich? We've all been sold this age-old myth that if you just keep your head down, get straight A's in school, well, a lucrative, wealthy future is pretty much guaranteed. But history and the source material we're looking at today tells a very different story. Take Alexander Graham Bell, for example. The guy invented the telephone. But when he went to the massive corporate giant of his time, Western Union, to sell his patent and his tiny little company for a mere $100,000, the president of Western Union literally scoffed at him. He called the price ridiculous and completely turned him down. So Bell wasn't just smart, he had to be incredibly audacious, because out of that massive rejection, AT&T was born.
And that brings us to a really powerful realization. Often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. Inside each and every one of us is this brave, brilliant, and daring character. But honestly, the traditional school system kind of suppresses that in favor of just playing it safe. But in the real world, outside the cozy safety of academics, things like guts, audacity, bravado, and tenacity, those are the things that actually dictate your future. I mean, you can know all the right answers on a test, but if you lack the courage to actually act on them, your financial genius just remains completely locked away.
All right, moving into Section 1, the foundation of genius, bridging fear and power.
Because let's be totally clear here. Boldness without knowledge, that's just gambling. To truly be a financial genius, you have to develop your financial IQ. Let's move to and see how this builds. It rests entirely on these 4 pillars. First up, we've got accounting, which is your basic financial literacy. You have to be able to read the numbers to actually see the strengths and weaknesses of any business. Second is investing. This is the science of money making money, and it's where your creative right brain gets to really shine. Third is understanding markets, grasping supply and demand, and knowing what makes sense based on current market conditions. And fourth, the law. This means understanding how corporate tax advantages and legal protections can contribute to some truly explosive growth. This 4-part synergy is the absolute bedrock of building an empire.
When you combine those 4 pillars, what do you get? You get true financial intelligence. But what does that actually mean for you on a day-to-day basis? Simply put, it means having more options. You see, most people only know one solution to a financial problem: work harder, save more, or borrow money. But financial intelligence allows you to look at a really bad situation and creatively solve it. It's literally about turning lemons into millions. It means you don't just sit around waiting for the perfect opportunity to magically drop into your lap. You use your knowledge and your options to go out and create your own luck.
Which brings us to Section 2, Inventing Money, Creating Wealth from Nothing.
I know, it sounds a bit like magic, but how exactly do the rich just create wealth from nothing? Well, it starts with understanding that the single most powerful asset we all have is our mind. We are living right in the middle of the information age. Wealth isn't just about owning physical factories or hoarding piles of gold anymore. A well-trained mind can create enormous wealth almost instantaneously through ideas, agreements, and quick decisions. I mean, millions are made every single day globally without any physical cash ever changing hands. It's just signals bouncing around on a trader's screen. Your mind, when it's properly trained, is hands down your greatest wealth-generating tool.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about in practice. Let's look at real estate. Kiyosaki describes this time he found a $75,000 house going for just $20,000 during a really depressed market. He borrowed $2,000 from a friend, bought the house, and then quickly turned around and sold it for $60,000 to a buyer who was just thrilled to get a deal. But here is the genius part. The buyer gave a $40,000 promissory note. So, boom, a $40,000 asset was literally created out of thin air. Money was invented right there in the asset column without being heavily taxed, generating interest income every single year.
Let's anchor that abstract concept into a very real number to put that into perspective: $190,000. During that exact same depressed market, Kiyosaki and his wife did 6 of these simple transactions in their spare time. For a grand total of about 30 hours of work, they essentially invented $190,000 in assets that were paying 10% interest. That's $19,000 a year in passive income created simply by recognizing a market opportunity and piecing the puzzle together.
So, I've got to ask you directly, which one of these scenarios sounds harder to you?
Is it harder to go to work every single day, pay 50% of your income in taxes, try to save what little is left, and earn a measly 5% interest on it? Or is it harder to take the time to actually develop your financial intelligence and harness the power of your brain to build your asset column? When you frame it like that, investing in your financial education kind of seems like the most logical thing in the world, doesn't it?
Let's jump into Section 3, the two types of investors, packaged versus assemblers. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how it naturally divides the world into two very different types of investors. First, you have the packaged investor. This is the everyday person who buys an off-the-shelf mutual fund. They want a nice, safe, balanced portfolio. Essentially, they are playing the game not to lose. But then you have the deal assembler. This is the true professional who actively creates investments, taking different components and putting them all together, kind of like building a custom high-end computer. Successful people aren't perfectly balanced when they start out. They are hyper-focused, taking calculated, unbalanced risks to really launch themselves forward.
If you want to become that deal assembler, the source outlines 3 exact steps you need to follow. Number 1, find opportunities missed by others. You literally have to train your mind to see what the crowd completely ignores. Number 2, raise money without using the bank. This is absolutely crucial. You don't always need your own money to invest. The book gives an example of raising $100,000 simply by knowing a specific deal was worth millions. It proves that investing is way more about knowing than it is about buying. And number 3, organize smart people. Really intelligent people make it a habit to hire those who are even smarter than they are.
And finally, Section 4, the call to courage. Stop waiting for green lights.
Look, knowing the steps is one thing, but you absolutely have to stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Waiting for the perfect time to invest is like refusing to pull out of your driveway until every single traffic light is completely green for 5 miles. Obviously, that's just never going to happen. You have to understand that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a completely necessary stepping stone. People who actively avoid failure also end up avoiding success. Think of investing kind of like playing a game of tennis. You play hard, you make mistakes, you hit the ball straight into the net, so what do? You correct your swing, you try again, you get better. And if you lose the match, you just shake hands across the net and say, hey, see you next Saturday. Losing is literally just part of the game of getting rich.
So the crucial point is this: great opportunities are not seen with your eyes, they are seen with your mind. Most people never achieve true wealth because they just haven't trained their minds financially to recognize the massive opportunities sitting right in front of their faces. You don't actually need money to make money. What you need is a trained mind, real financial intelligence, and the absolute boldness to act on it.
Which leaves us with one final, very important question today. Are you ready to train your mind? Because if you want to stop just working for money and start actually inventing it, your education has to continue. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss our upcoming explainer breaking down Chapter 6, where we are going to completely uncover why you should work to learn and not just work for money. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.